So in the last video we went through a bunch of things on this telehandler to get this engine going. I ended up having the injection pump rebuilt, took off the timing cover, messed with some timing, did work to the injection system, just a bunch of things, and eventually I got this thing running on its own without starting fluid. I was able to move it around. All the hydraulics work, it drives, but then I discovered that there's no drive shaft going to the rear axle, which got me digging around, wondering why that happened. Then I pulled the cover off of this, and there's no center gear in here, and this spins freely, so something's broken inside of there. So now I've got a few parts, and I also have a parts machine not too far away that I can get parts for this axle or a whole new axle. So in this video we're going to be fixing this, or attempting to fix the four-wheel drive, and then we're going to rebuild a bunch of cylinders because they are leaking very badly. I also got a fork carriage for this, so we're going to have to hook that up with a cylinder so that we can have function of this whole assembly here. But the first thing I want to do is tear into this axle, because I need to determine whether I need a new axle or whether I can just replace a few parts, which is more cost effective, and then I can get going on getting the parts, and then after I'm waiting for parts I can get going on rebuilding some cylinders, because I have all the seals for those. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's just broken off completely right there. There we go. Okay, somehow I gotta not scratch that. I don't like it, but I got it. Hold it. There we go.
It's hitting on the bottom. It's just got to be kicked over at the bottom.
Yeah, it'll go. That could be a problem. Pick it up. this just comes right out of here. So it looks like that piece. Man, somebody really beat this thing up though. Look at that. That's from the ball bearings being in there, which are, look at that big old thing. A bunch of them. There is so much carnage in here. So at this point, I'm not sure whether I just need that shaft to put back in there and a new seal, or whether I should just get a whole new axle. I have both options. I have a guy that's not too far from me that's got a whole axle from the front, which would still work for the rear. And then he's also got another axle that's broken just like this, where the hub is off of it, and it may have actually broke the same way because the hub was disconnected from the rest of the axle. And they weren't sure exactly what happened. I guess it was a while ago, but I'm suspecting that the same thing happened, and he said he couldn't get the parts, which would mean the shaft. There's a short little shaft that goes through there from there to there. I'm guessing he couldn't get that, so he kind of gave up and sold the machine for parts. And the one side is off like that, but the shaft that goes through there should be the same for the other side and should be the same for the front. So there should be 3 other shafts available. One shaft would be on a broken axle, which would be a lot cheaper. I'd rather just change the shaft if I can. But I can also check to see if I can find it, because there was one guy at one company that said that he could pretty much get any part for this. So I guess I gotta start doing some research, and in the meantime, I'm gonna take the hub cap off the other side and just make sure that that's not broken too, because if that's broken, then might as well just get a whole axle. But I don't think it's gonna be broken. Yeah, I took the sun gear. So as of right now, I'm pretty sure that this wheel is okay. It seems like that joint in there, like was on the other side, is okay. So I'm trying to locate some parts right now, and it may take me a couple days or a week or 2 or something. I'm not really sure. So let's move on to rebuilding some of these hydraulic cylinders. So the one cylinder that I want to do absolutely first is this one right here. This one is leaking a lot. Like, when you park this thing, it leaks probably a quart overnight. So this cylinder goes from right there all the way to right there. That's the cylinder. And then the rod starts from right there and goes all the way to there when it's extended forward. So this thing is, what is that, about 9 feet long when it's retracted. So I think the only way to tackle this is going to be to take that whole boom assembly, move it back, which that's the cylinder that does that. So I'll retract the cylinder all the way, and then I need to disconnect this nut, and then I can probably just lift the rod up past this area and then extend the cylinder out. I think that's the only way that makes sense to me, because you can take the end of the cylinder off right here, but that is going to be our restricting point right there. So we can't go up past that. So right now I can't just lift this cylinder out of here because it hits on that, and I don't want to get involved in taking that whole thing apart. There's no way. I think I got no choice but to weld the rod to this piece right here. I know that's really stupid, but I don't know if I have any other choice. The only other thing I could maybe do is pull the cylinder apart and like actually take the rod right out of the cylinder and leave it in there, and then I could put a wrench on the other side of the rod, on the other nut on the other side, and then maybe whichever one breaks free first. But I'd rather not do that. I'd rather disconnect it here first. So I think I'm gonna have to weld this rod to here, but you can see the paint shows that it can't go in any further than it is right now, so it's not gonna affect anything. Like, it's not gonna hurt anything, because that part of the rod doesn't go in the cylinder. I could put a pipe wrench on it too, but I can't really get a pipe wrench in there. But if I can weld something inside of there, I can put lots of weld on it versus that little 1.25" weld right there. Oh, I just broke the weld. I don't know. It might have gone, I don't know. Yeah, it's going. Alright, so that was a complete disaster. Something happened with these threads. I think it's something to do with the set screw. I don't know, but, you know, rather than damaging the threads all the way coming out, I just opted to cut the nut off. This nut is a 1.5 inch diameter with a 12 threads per inch pitch on the threads. So I was able to get this pretty easily. This was readily available at a lot of different places. I actually should see it tomorrow. I also got a thread chaser for here, or repair die. So I ordered that, but nevertheless, all that stuff is way cheaper and quicker than having to fix that at a machine shop or something stupid like that. Okay. Just pulling it out.
Pulling the cylinder out.
Just tap it back with a hammer.
It's just bouncing now. Now it's going. Stop the drop.
That's enough, right?
I got like an inch.
Guess it's not that much. Oh, there we go. Thump. Oh, I need to somehow get this. Hold on. It's going.
Almost there.
I'll let that go. If anything, tip it this way. Okay, so I don't know what's happening here, but this seal is too wide for here. It will not fit in that groove. I ordered this right from JLG too, which is what company took over for Lull. So I don't know why these don't fit. They look like the right diameter, and the rest of the seals look like they're fine, but these ones will not work. So I guess we're putting these ones back in. Well, I guess it was a total waste to take this rod out.
Down. Up. Go down. Well, you go 4 inches.
Wow. That's just totally brittle. It's just falling apart. That's just the dust seal too. But this one is also very bad. Look at that, just crumbles to nothing. That's why this thing leaked very bad. So I'm doing these cylinders by the order of how much they're leaking. So this would be the next cylinder that I'm going to do right here. And I also just discovered, which I thought originally this was leaking in here, that one. But then I thought because the boom was in the air that this fluid was from that cylinder. But I just confirmed that this cylinder is also leaking, which I don't have the seals for, so I got to get that. But in the meantime, I think this cylinder needs to come out in order to access that one. So let's just pop this one out of here and see what's going on. I really need to get me a big old chain wrench. Not this little toy, I mean like a real one with a big giant like 4-foot breaker bar on it or something. No, I guess even bigger than that. It wouldn't hurt to have it even bigger than that. I don't think this thing has a chance. I'm not even going to destroy this thing. It's just not going to work. Right. Yeah, let's see.
got it. Oh.
Oh wow. I don't know why that's a thing. That's like not what you want to see. That's how cylinders destroy themselves, when the piston gets loose like that, or the piston nut, but in this case the piston is the nut. So that's weird. Should be a set screw right here, but it's too deep for this. Hopefully that didn't destroy the threads. The fact that it's not just coming off right now seems like something might have happened to the threads. Maybe we'll get lucky. Oh, okay, that's good news. There's a groove in there that rides on, so actually it was totally fine for that to be spinning the way it was. Usually that set screw is in the threads, and if that set screw allows this to move even a little bit, that means the threads are probably messed up, but this is a different scenario here. Look at that wiper seal. Well, surprisingly, the seal inside, which is the one that's actually leaking, doesn't look too bad. It's not even that brittle either. see if we can use this piston to kind of drive this gland on here. I know I still gotta replace the seals here, but I can do that with it on here. So before I put that cylinder back in here, it's going to be in the way for the next project, which is going to be replacing the seals in that cylinder right there. So this is going to be probably the hardest thing on the whole machine to do, because this cylinder, it looks like it's about 11 to 12 feet long, and then obviously the rod is almost that long too. So according to the service manual, it needs to come out through the back, but I need to get a nut loose right there. So I already got a socket on it and it's already turning, which is absolutely fantastic news. So once we get that loose, then we can work on the rest of this. But also I need to get this boom level right now, because as soon as I let go of that nut, the boom is going to want to slide out. So let's get it level, and then might have to open the garage door to pull it out the back. But we have to do a whole bunch of other stuff to disconnect some cables and a bunch of other things in there. So it's just good news that I got that loose anyways. So in order to take this cylinder out, there's a cable that goes out and back. I need to release the tension on that cable, and then I need to pull the whole cable out. And then there's a cable sheave mount back here. So let's work on that. Just pull that rod right out of there.
No one just took a shower. It was martial arts.
Oh, that's a nut there. Must be a stud. There's no fluid coming out. That's weird. Oh, maybe it's not JSE. Oop, that's JSE. Yep, that's JSE. Need a pan. Pan.
Do that.
I'll never get that back on either. I might have to disconnect it up top first. Let it drop down. Guess I could do that. Guess either way the fluid's coming out. So you want to hand me the what, inch and inch and an eighth maybe, but probably an inch and a quarter. Yep, that's an inch and a quarter. Of course, this is a hose that just doesn't want to. I need like first of all the PB blaster. All right, I'll get the PB blaster. This hose needs to be replaced like, badly. I just need that cap and plug that's over there. The big one. No, smaller than that. So it's number 8. No.
This was in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is.
This.
But I need a cap too. Well, I got a whole nother kit. Well, I guess this cylinder is like kind of ready to come out now. I'm actually pulling it. I can't believe that. That thing's probably 300-400 pounds. That's still coming out. Well, what I need you to do is kind of check along the boom. Take that little flashlight, which is on top of the cab. Just check things to make sure there's nothing catching on anything. We'll pull it out as far as we can before I open that door and let all the heat out. Appears to be going. There's a nut on the other side. Probably gonna have to hold that with a wrench or something. Yeah, it's going a little bit. The cable is tight.
Another quarter inch to go.
Well, hopefully it'll just pull out when I go back there and pull it. Is that really it? The only thing is the cable thing got pulled out. Well, I guess now it's time to open up the door. Skid steer it is. Oh, that's the halfway point, I guess. It's getting cold right now. Good?
A little bit more. No.
I can hold this up with my pinky right now. Well, I guess hold it there, maybe, and I'll get this do down. I just don't want it to start toppling this way. Tell me if it's starting to get heavy. I can't see what's going on. tell me if there's anything bad. That wasn't even tight. That was incredibly easy. I could actually just take this right off of here right now. I'll have to clean that up first. Let's see what's bad in here.
Done.
So I am still waiting for parts on the axle. I'm still trying to figure out whether it's more cost effective to try to get the pieces or to buy another axle and swap parts. So the cylinder that's supposed to be in the boom right now is right there. I'm waiting on parts for that. So I'm waiting on parts for that, waiting on parts for that, waiting on parts to finish up that one cylinder right there, which is just basically repairing the threads. I got the nut for it, I'm just waiting to repair the threads. So everything is just kind of on hold right now. The only other thing I can really do is start working on this cylinder, and I guess I can start working on the steering cylinders. I guess we could work on it while we are waiting on other parts. So I guess what I need to do here is, in order for the body of this thing to not tip this way, I need to put some steel shims in right here. So I'll try to fill that up the best I can with steel, and it will probably drop a little bit, and then we can start taking out the pins. And I'll probably have to take out the whole cylinder in order to work on this one, but hopefully I can at least crack the gland nut loose first. It's coming right out. I love it when that happens. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. You know, a lot of these gland nuts have a special tool that you can use to get them off. They either have holes in them or they have a hex design or just all kinds of various things. This one has nothing. It's just a round gland nut. So I think they expect you to use a giant chain wrench. I really got to get one of those. I keep forgetting to order one. Of course, it doesn't do me any good now because it's going to take a week to get it, but I really got to order one. Not much in there. That was stupid. Oh, there goes another bag of absorbent. I don't mind making a tool for this, but I'm literally on the last cylinder. But I guess since I have a whole nother machine that's identical, maybe I should just make a tool for it. So I had some 5/8 rod. I drilled a 5/8 hole, so it was almost a press fit. I had to really pound them in there, which made them perfectly straight. So I don't have to worry about them wobbling around while I weld them up on the back side. You don't want to weld them up on the front side because then you'll have like a buildup there that won't allow you to get it nice and tight. So right now, that's nice and tight there. It's not like sticking way out like that, which will bend over those little dowels there. Nice and tight up there. The only thing I did mess up is I meant to have the flat side like that, because I'm going to be beaten that way. I fully meant to do that. I just somehow I got screwed up when I was pounding them in there. But this should work anyways. Got it. It doesn't even look that bad. But this is the only seal that would leak out of the rod. So that's the one. I'm just going to use this to put this on like I did the other one, and then I got to put that spacer back in there. Stupid. Alright, go ahead and... So moving on to the next thing, I didn't really notice this until later, but these brake drums, which are like a pinion style brake, these are the service brakes, they're not the parking brake, they're leaking. I've already taken the liberty of taking a socket, and since I don't have a lathe, and I had to fit this socket to go into here. So the thing is, if you use an impact socket, the walls are too thick and there's not enough room in there. So you can see that the bore in this yoke is not very big compared to that nut. So there's only about 1/8 of an inch between the point of each side of this nut that you can put something in. And all my impact sockets are way too thick for that. So even this one, this is a 3/4 drive. Even this one was too thick, so I actually had to take this and put it in a drill and turn it at the same time I was using a grinder, kind of using the grinder as a lathe. I really need a lathe. But anyways, I was able to grind it. It took a long time, but I was able to grind enough off of it. Now it barely fits in there. I don't know why they do stuff like that. Like, couldn't they just make that a little bit bigger or use a little bit smaller of a nut or something? Like, this is the thinnest wall that I could find, and it still didn't fit in there without half an hour worth of grinding. Anyways, so I'm gonna try to spin this off of here. Hopefully I can just use the impact gun and just spin that nut off of there. And then there should just be a regular oil seal behind it. And I can't seem to find the part numbers for it, so maybe we can look on it and see the numbers. So this one's dripping pretty bad, but also the one on the front's dripping even worse. So hopefully this is the case, and then since this one doesn't have a drive shaft, this is easy. And if we can fix that, we're just getting that oil seal. I'll just get 2 oil seals, and then we can pop the drive shaft off the front one and do the same thing, and then that leak is taken care of. We're slowly closing in on all the leaks. Okay, I don't know what that means when it just keeps spinning like that. Oh, okay. That means that the nut is off. That is like wonderful, actually. And now let's see how hard it is to get this yoke off. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so that's why. Because this has got external splines because there's the brake discs in there. That makes sense. I need to clean this seal off, and it looks like, okay, so upon further inspection, I don't think that that seal is leaking. I didn't realize it until I looked at the other one. That one over there, which is leaking worse. There's a weep hole in the back. In that case on the front, but in this case in the back. So I guess I gotta pull this cover off of here, and hopefully it can squeak by the frame here. Otherwise you gotta like pull the axle, but I don't see that happening. I think one over there. So right now I'm trying to take these seals out. There's two seals inside of this brake chamber here. They both face opposite directions. I think they're the same seal. And basically there's a weep hole that goes out between them. So if one seal starts leaking, instead of getting rear end fluid into the brake chamber, it will go out the weep hole. And instead of getting fluid from the brake chamber into the rear end, it will go out the weep hole. So I'm pretty sure that that's what's leaking. I have to run the machine to know for sure, because I wiped down all the leaks and then neither one of the brake chambers are leaking after that. But it definitely appears that it's coming out the weep hole. So one of these seals is leaking. So I want to replace both of them, but if you order these seals from JLG, they're over $100 a piece. And I need two for here and two for the front end. So I'm not spending that kind of money on seals. These are just stupid seals. There's nothing special about them. So I want to take them out without damaging them, see if I can cross-reference the numbers on them. If not, I'm just going to measure and I'm going to order some generic seals. There's no way I'm paying that kind of money for those seals. And there's like a protrusion in the steel between them, so you can't just knock them out both ways. CR 23641. Oh, okay. This is a 4-piece that I'm taking off, but I guess it's a 2-piece that I'm putting back on. Looks like it fits. They go up and drag. It kind of did something. There we go. That did it. Oh, another 1/2 inch. That's good. So this axle I got locally, about 45 minutes away, and he had two axles. One was good, needed nothing. This one is broken on this side. I'm pretty sure what happened was the same thing that happened on this machine, except I think this part was the part that broke. It's like the inner hub part. This is like the outer hub. And because that broke, the joint that was inside also broke. So this axle is actually from the front, whereas I'm working on an axle from the rear, but they should be exactly identical. So this axle has a lot of value to me because it's got both sun gears, most likely, I'm pretty sure. Should have the sun gear inside of this hub, and the other hub is still on the trailer, and that should also have the sun gear. So if I was to buy those online, they're $400 a piece, so that's $800. I only paid $600 for this axle. But here's the real big value out of it, is the joint inside of there. The joint inside of there, like I said, that's worth $9,800 if you were to buy that new. Now, since discovering the price of a brand new unit that they had to actually make, I actually went through the JLG part numbers and I looked it up that way instead of looking it up by the part numbers for the axle itself, which are totally different. The JLG number, which JLG took over at Lull, the JLG number came back to about $3,000. So this is a much better deal, but it's not the end of the world. If I didn't get it, I could still manage it. $9,800 is not manageable. That's where you just like literally buy another machine to get this thing unstuck when it's stuck. Like, could you imagine spending $10,000 on just that part just to have four-wheel drive, when you could just, for $10,000, you could just buy like a cheap mini excavator or skid steer to just get this thing unstuck when it's stuck, or even just putting like 2 giant winches on this thing. So I won't be getting the seals that I need to actually install that joint on that machine yet until tomorrow. But at least if we can get it pulled out for now, make sure everything works. We can also get the sun gear pulled out, put the sun gear on that side, button that back up. Thick stuff right there. Oof. I love these type of snap rings. They're so easy to get off. That's literally it. That's all I needed.
Should be just like so.
There we go. I think I gotta put 80-90 in there, but I gotta check the manual just to make sure. Okay, so to get that joint out of there, I am like 95% sure that I could just pull this whole thing off. Just take this top bearing, the bottom bearing, which is kind of like the kingpin that holds that onto there. It's like a split kingpin, if you will. It doesn't go all the way through because there's that joint in there, but I don't think I need to split it here. In here is the cup. So I should be able to pull this whole thing off and the cup will remain there, and then I'll pull the cup, the U-joint assembly, the bell joint, if you will, we'll pull out after that. I really think I don't need to take these out, because you got to take these out with a wrench, and there's a whole bunch of them and they look really seized and rusted. Try to do it the other way. I'll put that little cherry picker on here, and because I mean that's probably a few 100 pounds, and then we'll just crack these bearings off of here and hopefully that thing will just come right off. That'd be so sweet. So that's what that whole thing is supposed to look like right there. That cup is what exploded on the other one. That's a pretty neat design, but it's crazy expensive. There's also like a C-clip that kind of secures the cup to the shaft that goes through here. Hopefully I can get that off, because I don't know if the inner axle is going to be the same. You know what? I just compared the two inner axles and they're exactly identical. So we should be able to just slide this whole thing in there. There's no reason to separate that. If that axle, the spline count's good, the length is good, the width is good, then it should be good. We'll just put that in there. I probably could separate that, but why? So I still need to put the seal inside of here, but I don't have that until tomorrow. Let's just put this in here. I'm just really curious. This is like a major problem that it'd be nice to know that it's just fixed. It's hard to believe that that thing right there would cost me $10,000. Even $3,000. It just all seemed crazy to me, but I guess it is what it is. It's fixed now. Alright, so this is going to be kind of a mess. Not the greatest situation here, but I need to rebuild all these steering cylinders, and there's not a great way to do this. But one thing that I do know is that I can slip the seals over this side, so I could just take off the gland nut, pull everything out, rebuild it, put it back in, without even taking off the rod nut on the other side. So that's good. The bad part is it's really hard to get this side off because that's got a tie rod on it, so you gotta take it off in a way where you can put it back on and hopefully not be too far off, otherwise your steering is all crooked. It doesn't matter too much on this machine. It's not like you're going 70 miles an hour down the highway, but it would be nice to do it in a way where it wouldn't be a total disaster when I'm done trying to get things aligned, because when there's four-wheel steering, I don't know, it can just get a little bit weird because you don't have, like on a car, the rear wheels are always going to be facing straight, so you can kind of align off of those, but these wheels turn as well as the front wheels turn. So anyways, I think I could just crack this with a pipe wrench, pull that out of there. The problem is, without capping and plugging these lines, I think we're just going to be leaking fluid everywhere, so we just got to do it as quick as possible. I'll put a pan underneath of it. You guys can see that I already got an absolute disaster down here. A lot of this is from the brake system that I took off, and so what I'd like to do is get this thing kind of wrapped up, pull this thing out of here, clean the floor real good. That's a much better option than to try to crawl around underneath of here and clean everything. But yeah, this whole video is honestly, it's kind of embarrassing how much mess we have around all the time, but it's really hard to keep up with cleaning stuff and getting stuff done at the same time. I got my brother Lucas cleaning up, but you know, cleaning up 5 days a week is just not, it's not a great job, honestly. Nobody likes cleaning up all day. And me, I'm just busy just blowing through things, just getting things done. I used to have two guys that could clean up, but Pat hasn't been working for me lately. I know a lot of people have been asking about that. He's been working for his brother for a few months now. I'm really not sure if he'll be back again, but honestly right now, I'm not really doing too good on money, so it kind of worked out all right. So me and my brother are surviving right now. It would be better to have another person, but at the same time, I'm trying to build a house, which is costing a ton of money, and I'm trying to do other things that's costing a ton of money, and YouTube is not bringing a lot of money right now. It's about a third of what it's been. In the last year, I've made about 30% of what I normally make on YouTube, so the YouTube revenue has not been good at all. And I've heard that other content creators that have a smaller channel aren't doing great either. The bigger channels seem to be doing all right, but smaller ones, for some reason, I don't know. Anyways, I know you guys don't need a whole life story here, but just know that keeping things clean is not my top priority, but I am trying. We are trying, but just kind of bear with me, because it's just, it doesn't make sense to do more cleaning than work. It's nice to have a nice clean area all the time to work on stuff, but at the same time, it's not efficient to be cleaning more than I am working. And rebuilding cylinders, replacing hoses, doing work on axles where there's grease and oil all over the place. It's just really messy stuff. Oh, that's good. Yeah, it cracked right loose. That's awesome. Okay, so this cylinder, in order to lock the gland nut on, for some reason they thought it was a good idea to put that wire in there. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that on cylinders before. It's been a long time since I've done a cylinder that had that wire in there, but that wire basically wraps around the whole thing, and to get it out, you have to lift, it's got like a tab on it, you have to like lift it up and then spin this nut off, and as you're spinning it off, that wire starts coming out. And the rebuild kits that I got for this give you a new wire to put in there. It's not really a wire, it's more like a flat piece of steel that's really thin. Like, I'll show you when I get it out, but it's Not the greatest design, but it's also not the worst. So basically you just need to kind of keep that tab up until it starts coming out, and then I think you can just kind of autopilot it there after, but so you just kind of get it started. Now it should kind of feed itself out. I don't know why they can't just do the set screw. The set screw is a good idea. So. There we go. Getting this rod out of here. I'm really getting the piston out of here. Oof. It just amazes me that that stuff is just that brittle. This seal might be hard to get in here because it's such a small seal, and I'm sure it's going to be like not very flexible. I'm surprised that this is still even that flexible, because it was definitely leaking. So here's the new wire that goes around it. So this part here goes in that little hole right there, and there's a slot on the bottom here, and that's where you start it, and then you just sort of rotate it and it kind of bends into place. It's pretty soft metal, So just got to get this on here first and then twist it around until that little hole lines up with the slot. Well, actually, it's there right now, which is amazing because I didn't try to do that. Too long. That's weird because it just went all the way around, and see there's a tapered end here and that's supposed to go right against there, but I guess it's too long. Not a big deal though. I mean, honestly, I don't even need to trim it, just bend it up like a giant cotter pin. There we go, good to go. All right, so I want to put this wheel back together. I finally got everything I need for this. So there was a seal in there, and I wish I would have showed you guys taking it out because it was an absolute nightmare. It was just so mangled into there because of all the broken pieces in here that were moving around all the time. It just completely destroyed it. But I finally got it out. I had to deburr it because there was chunks sticking up all over the place, and if I tried to put in a new seal, it probably would have ruined it. So I took a deburring tool on the Dremel. This thing worked really good. Made quick work out of getting that all cleaned up. So what I'm going to do is put that seal in right now, and then I'm going to do some more work with another deburring tool around the inside here because there's all kinds of chunks that are sticking out. Some of them are almost 1/4 of an inch of steel that's just like sticking out into this area, and I'm afraid something's going to catch on that new U-joint. So let me put that seal in, and then we'll shove a rag in there and then clean up the rest of that. SKF 538061. I wouldn't normally do this, but I put some of that Right Stuff gasket maker on the back and the sides just because I know that the deburring tool didn't get this perfect. So if I went a little too deep on the sides or something, I don't want to let any oil into this spot here. So it's not going to hurt anything. Just a little bit of extra precaution. I have discovered that an 1 7/8" socket will work perfect as a seal driver. And that's it. Perfect.
Alright, so I got all of the burrs out. So now we should be ready to...
Well, first I gotta replace the seal inside of there on the other side. That's what separates the oil that goes into there from the grease that goes into here. I noticed that all of these wheels have oil going into the grease around here, which I don't think is the worst thing, but it makes it so that that is going to be low on fluid. So I got the seal for this wheel, and maybe I'll do the other ones later, but right now I can just do this one. But I got this all nice and shiny and smooth around here because the seal rides on here as the wheel is turning. So this is the seal, and this is about 8 inches in diameter. This is $200 for this thing, and it's a split seal. It's the only way it would work. The only way for this to go over here is for you to be able to split it. So that's what they had to do. So I'm assuming they want the split at the top. That would be the thing that would make sense. And all this does is keep the grease from coming out of this joint. So grease is not that thin. And if we put this at the top, it'll surely be fine. I guess even inside of here I need to do some work. I didn't realize that this was this bad, but look at that. Chunks. And one of these bolts here is like mangled. I don't think that matters though. But that's the seal. I really think this needs to be replaced on every one of these wheels, but I think we'll live with it for now.
It's started in.
Okay.
I think you need to go down a little bit though. I don't know that you're gonna get far enough in. Now you're hitting on the jack. The jack needs to move over.
Jack can go over plenty.
Not really.
Now what?
I don't really
I feel
know.
like you need to go up a little bit. Just a hair. Okay. Now this needs to be rotated. Alright. Now just straight in, I guess.
I think you're on the ground at the time. There. That should be it.
Go real slow.
Oh, that goes right in there. It's like no hesitation. So I don't think I mentioned this yet, but the spare axle that I bought came with the sun gear on one side, but on the other side, we took it apart the other day and it did not have the sun gear. That was the side that was broken. The hub was broken off of the axle. It didn't come with the sun gear, and it didn't come with the spacer. So I had to order that, and that was not cheap. It was $500 between the spacer, which this spacer alone was over $100. Crazy. It's just a giant washer is all it is. I really need a lathe. You guys have been mentioning that for a long time, but I'm seriously considering getting a lathe in the next few weeks. Because something like this, I mean, how hard would it be to turn this down as some scrap steel? It's just a washer, that's all it is. The good thing is, now I have four-wheel drive. That's the only thing that matters. Can you hand me that?
Oh, this thing?
Yep. Thank you. All right, so I finally got the 1.5 by 12 pitch die. So now I can repair those threads. And I also got the nut that goes on it. So I did manage to get this tap started, so it should be good to go. There we go. And it definitely did take a lot of steel off. I got it like a 1/4 inch on, and there was quite a few pieces of steel in there. I actually do have a socket that would fit this, but this is working, so I'm just keep doing it. Should spin on by hand now. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. Problem solved. That is so nice. I was a little bit worried about that. At first I was anyways, because I didn't know if that was some weird thread on there. Turns out it wasn't, Very popular thread. I need a machine shop. Alright, so let's get this cleaned off. I finally got a parts washer, so let's try it out. So I got the seals to reseal this whole thing, and the other one too. So I got 2 of everything. So here's the piston right here. Here's what pushes against the friction plates and actually applies the brakes. So there's a hydraulic fitting that goes on here, and it just applies fluid and pushes this piston up. So I think the only way to actually reseal this is to actually get this out by pushing it up with air for right now. It wants to like do it unevenly, and I can't. It's all like uneven when it pushes because it doesn't have anything to kind of give it resistance. So I gotta like hold one spot. So I don't think there's a chance that these seals are bad, but they're just O-rings, and I didn't know which O-rings were what, so I just got all of them. So in that case, might as well just reseal it. I really think it's these 2 seals, and these are just regular oil seals. I think these are what's making it leak. I think if anything, if these 2 seals were bad inside of here, it would just lose efficiency and it wouldn't break as good. But they're super easy to get out and put in, so might as well do them. So JLG wanted like, what is that? Almost $100 a piece for these things, and I needed 4 of them. There's 2 for each of these, and I got these on Rock Auto for I think $12 a piece, and they're the actual national seal. Well, the old ones were NGK, so I did this by kind of cross-referencing. So I think what I'm going to do to make this easier to put everything back on, let me show you. Put the yoke in here first. Now start assembling my frictions. And you can see that the bolts in this actually keep this steel stationary. I mean, in a sense, I guess if the bolts weren't there, it would catch eventually on the sides here, but would have a lot of slop in it. But the bolts hold it right where it should be. And now this is the part that I wanted to kind of do ahead of time, is you got to spline that on this yoke. And I can just imagine trying to do that while everything's in the air. It's not going to be easy. So if I do it this way, then I think I'll have an easier time putting this back together. I guess I could even put 2 bolts in here just to kind of hold its place. Now if I put this in as an assembly all together, everything should just slide right over the shaft coming out of the rear end there, the differential, the pinion. But first I got to put on that piece. That goes on first, mounted with some Loctite, and then this goes that way. Alright, so at this point I want to give you a little update of where I am, because I did a lot of stuff off camera. I completed rebuilding all of the steering cylinders. That was just repetitive, there was no reason to show that. I got the brake chamber completely rebuilt on the back end. Now I'd like to take the brake chamber off the front end and rebuild that one. That one looks like it'll be a little bit easier because there's just a little bit more room between the front of the brake chamber and the frame there. There's about 2 inches, whereas the other one had about 3/4 of an inch. Alright, let's get this running. So now the only thing between me and four-wheel drive is this drive shaft right here. But this is absolutely caked with just grease and grime. I'm officially done with sealing up all the leaks that I found so far. Done a lot of work to this machine. Now it's time to do some fun stuff, which is going to be putting on the fork carriage, which I just bought, and putting on the tilt cylinder for it. And I need to also put on the tilt cylinder that tilts the whole carriage. So we got this one, which tilts it this way. We have another tilt cylinder on the carriage, which tilts it this way. And then we need to put forks on it, and I need to make up 2 new hydraulic lines that go to the tilting cylinder because it doesn't have anything right now. The lines were literally capped and plugged, which you can't really see, but they're right here. So before we fit that carriage on here, I had to buy a pin to go into there, and it was $200 for the generic JLG pin, or Lull used to be. So I just bought a generic 2-inch pin, but it doesn't have a hole for the keeper there. So we need to drill that somehow. So this is 1018 cold finish steel, and from what I'm gathering, this is a good pin material. It's harder than mild steel, but it's not too hard where it's not machinable very easy, so we should be able to drill this relatively easy. Okay, so I have no idea if this is going to work, but I have my mag drill set up on the bench press. I shimmed up with a 3/4 inch piece of steel. I shimmed up the pin so that the top of it's flush with the top of the jaws of the vise, so that it's all one plane. So the magnet has kind of a flat surface, so it's kind of sticking to the jaws and kind of sticking to this. It doesn't seem like it has a crazy amount of pulling power, but it might be enough to just get me through this. So I have it centered the best I can. It doesn't need to be perfect though. I'm going to oversize the hole. I'm only using a 3/8 bolt, and I got a 1/2 inch hole, so should be fine. So we'll get the proper size bolt later, but I was actually able to get a 1/2 inch bolt in there. I just needed to ream it out a little bit. The boss on the other side was just like deformed a little bit. But what that means is that I was pretty dang close to the center of that pin. So that's all set, that's good. So now we need to get that into there. So I need to find an 1.5 inch pin for there. I got so many pins around here, but none that's that diameter. I wish I had a lathe. Oh wait, I do. But I don't have it hooked up yet. Okay, so I'm still starting out in a lathe, but I just put a little chamfer on the end here. And then I use my mag drill to drill that hole there. I think you're gonna have to take the headphones off before you put those on. No, you're gonna try anyways. Good. Okay, so JIC, we're gonna be using 3/8 hose. One end is 3/8 on the cylinder. So I'll grab 3/8 to 3/8, or number 6 to number 6. And then the other end is actually going to be number 6 to number 8. So number 6 hose and number 8 fitting. So 3/8 to 1/2 inch on one side, 3/8 to 3/8 on the other side. We're going to do 3/8 hose. We need 8-foot long pieces. We need 2 of them, identical. Actually, we could go 7 feet on the one because it's about a foot lower than the other one. Alright, you gotta hold it right here. Okay? Then you're gonna cut it right on that line. Okay? You gotta pull this trigger. Hold it good. It's gonna fall in a second, okay?
That thing is loud. Yeah. That's all loud.
Alright, we gotta pull another one out.
That's so good.
Alright, bring it out that way.
I know that.
You know that. Okay, hold on, hold on. We're right at the end.
Oh, come on.
Okay. 8 foot.
Yes, I get to cut it again and again. You to cut it again and again and again. This is how I do it.
You wanna do it like that? Okay, hang on, hang on. Alright, go ahead.
We're good.
Alright, put that saw to the side. So we're not tripping over it.
Boy, that thing loud.
Bring those hoses over here for a second.
What I'm doing.
Alright, hit it. You gotta hit it harder. now hit it the other way, on the top, right here.
No, no, no.
Alright, now watch for that light. Good job.
That was like on the dog.
Alright, now hit the pedal up. Yep. More. Alright, good. Get your hands out of there.
Get your feet out.
Hey, Dad.
Good. Let it go.
Hang on, Noah. Jump.
Alright, release it.
Good.
This is the 3/8 end on the cylinder. So I've been having an absolutely terrible time trying to find some forks for this thing. So I've contacted people for about a month now, and there's been several people that I've been trying to get these forks from, and nobody seems to be able to arrange a meeting. So finally I picked somebody that was local, and he just had these forks for a forklift, which don't have the eyelet on it that I need, but we're just going to fabricate that, and that's going to be the end of that because I'm tired of waiting. They were for a brand new forklift, but the guy got 8-foot forks for it instead, so these are 4-foot, and he just took them off immediately and put the 8-footers on there, and here they are. I got them for $200. They're extremely stout. It's 2 inches thick. It's 2 inches all the way to about right there. These are rated for 12,000 pounds. This machine is rated for 8,000 pounds, so should have no problem here. They're very wide too. So from my observations, it looks like the bottom of this part right here, is actually oblonged. Like somebody was actually dragging that on the ground a whole bunch of times and either wore it down or actually pushed it up, one or the other, because it's almost kind of like flat on the bottom. It's flattish. So I think what I'm going to do is give these forks a little bit more hang down here. So instead of like 2 or 3 inches like they normally have, I'm going to give it like 5 inches. So they're going to stick down 5 inches below this point right here. That way, that thing stays off the ground just a little bit more. That's what's nice about having custom forks though, because you can kind of set it wherever you want. So I have this DOM that I bought for making a thumb a while ago, and then I went a different route. So this has got a 2-inch ID, and this is a 2-inch bar right here. So we're gonna use this. This is looks like about 7/16 wall, almost 1/2 inch. So DOM stands for drawn over mandrel, which in this case doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be super precise. So we're gonna weld that on the back of here. We're gonna preheat it, turn up the welder all the way. I'm gonna use 0.045 dual shield. We're gonna just weld this up real good, many passes. And then I gotta cut off part of it because it sticks up too much. I also gotta cut that off too. All right, let's go outside and test this thing out. Those forks came out really nice. I got a lot of welding. I got hours worth of welding into those two spots. I was switching between the 7018 and .045 dual shield. My MIG welder, you can only weld for a while and then it shuts off. That's the difference between a smaller welder and a bigger welder. That's really the only difference. The duty cycle is what separates this 180 from a 210 or 211 or a 280 or whatever. It's just the duty cycle. Those bigger welders don't allow you to weld thicker steel. They just allow you to run longer. It's really the wire that limits you. That wire, you can't turn, even this one, you can't turn it all the way up or it's too much for that wire. I've seen a lot of people say that, you know, get the giant welder, but it's like, yeah, if you're welding all day, every day, that makes total sense. But in my case, this one's just fine. Alright, so I am pretty much done with this machine. I still need to do a few more things, but it's not worth filming. One thing I need to do still is going to be, I'm going to take all these knuckles off and replace the seal right here and right here because they are leaking fluid. So that will probably take me like an hour to an hour and a half per section, and I already did the one, so I only have 3 more to go. So at least a half a day worth of work to do that. So this is the one that I did all the work to, and I replaced the seals in there, and as you can see, it is nice and clean looking. So I figured while I'm in there, I'll also pack those joints with grease, because I think that's why this one failed. I think what happens is because the oil leaks in there, it washes out the grease, and then water gets in there, and if you have rusty parts that are supposed to be shiny and they're rubbing up against each other, that's a recipe for things to bind up, which is probably what happened with that joint. So it was quite an adventure to find that joint, and once I found one, I found 2 more with it. So I ended up actually posting those for sale, and it seems like I have at least 3 people that need them right now. I just sent one out yesterday, and I'm probably going to send another one out tomorrow. And I know another guy that's got a set of axles that I can buy, but he's halfway across the country. I might have him ship me those axles, and I might just take them apart and take those joints out, and that way I have 4 of them to sell. Because if you go to buy them right now, they're around $4,000, $4,500. There's one place where you can buy one of them for $2,500, but I'll sell them for $1,500 a piece, which sounds expensive for them, but if they're obsolete and there's only so many of them, then that's not that bad. So here is one of them just before I package it up, but that's all it is. It's just this cup, and then it's got like this kind of ring inside that's like curved, and then it's got 6 balls in it. And you can actually take this whole thing apart. I had another one that I just sent out in mail yesterday, and I took the whole thing apart and cleaned it out just so it wouldn't leak fluid in the mail. But it was pretty easy to do that, actually. So you could probably make most of this with a lathe, and then just these grooves in here would need to be cut with a CNC machine, or I guess maybe a mill could do that. And the piece inside doesn't appear to go bad. Like the one that I had that went bad, this piece was still fine. This piece though would need to be manufactured, and that might actually be quite a bit of work. Maybe not as much as this would be, but the piece inside of there could still be made. And then the balls don't go bad, so I don't see a problem with that. And you could probably get more of those too. So I have 4 of these hubs, knuckles. I have all the parts for them, like, you know, the final drive on the other side. I have this, the sun gear, and then the outer gear. But I have done a lot of work to this machine, so I am just ready to move on to something else. Probably done working on machines just for a little while, just to take a break. That's what's fun about doing so many different things. I can just switch to something else, like maybe I'll go start building that house. But we've been doing some spring cleanup around here, so that's something that needs to be done. You know, as soon as the snow comes off the ground, then it's just a race to get things cleaned up. So we've been doing some of that. And I've already listed this for sale. I put it for sale for 16 grand. I don't know if I'll get that or not. We'll see. That's about what I would need to get to make a profit on it, like to pay for all my labor and all the parts I put into it. We'll see if I get that or not. I don't know. It seems like I got that track loader sold. I should be going to deliver that in 2 days, so that will be sold. And then I guess it's time to move on to this one. Now, I don't think I'm in any kind of rush to sell it, but mainly I think this one should need less work than the other one. And the engine in it will probably give me the most trouble, because I think the valves are all rusted up on it. So it might just be a case of just pulling off the head and then doing the valves, and then maybe new head gasket and resurfacing it and put the injection pump in there, and then that might be it. But then of course the rest of the telehandler is going to need similar things to the other one. Lots of seals being replaced. And then there is always hoses. So let's go back over to this other machine and talk about that. So I went through the whole machine and I tried to figure out all the fittings that I would need and all the hose that I would need to just do every hose on the machine over. And it seems like it's going to cost me around $2,500 to $3,000 just in parts, just in hose and hose ends, to just do a complete hose job on this machine. There's a lot of hoses. So I just opted to not do that. Although, you know, seeing things on the video, you guys are going to see that like it needs hoses, but it's one of those things where I just don't know if I can justify paying that kind of money and all the time too. I mean, it would probably take me a week to replace all these hoses. I just don't see recovering that when I sell it. Just to say on the ad that it has all new hoses, I don't think it's going to bring that kind of money, because you got to think like a week of labor, even with just me, that's got to be worth $5,000, running that hose machine all day and just doing this just back-breaking work to get all these hoses out. So is it going to be worth $8,000 more when it's done? Probably not. So I don't think it's worth doing it. Obviously, if there was some hoses that were leaking, I would have replaced them, but I haven't found one yet. They look like they're in bad condition, but I haven't found one that leaked yet. I haven't had to replace one hose on this thing. The only thing I did was put 2 hoses on there just because they weren't there. Other than that, I haven't found any that are leaking. So a lot of the hoses are easy to get to. So somebody that buys this, while they're using it, if a hose breaks, it's much cheaper for them to just replace that one hose, because it's not like the track loader where it was impossible to get to the hoses. And also, these machines are set up so that if you do blow a hose, nothing dangerous is going to happen. All of these cylinders have safety blocks on them, and that safety block, you could take that hose right off and nothing would even come out of there, because the safety block makes it so that you have to have return pressure coming in order to open that valve to let that go out. So a lot of these aerial type of machines have that, simply because it would be extremely dangerous for something like this to just fall out of the sky. Even if you didn't have a man basket on it and have people in it, you could still have just materials go flying. So that's why they make them like that. You know, with an excavator, the worst that's going to happen is you drop a bucket of dirt, but with this, you drop a pallet of plywood. That's not going to be good. So there's safety blocks, even, you know, even on the tilt, just because that could really mess you up if that thing all of a sudden tilts like you don't want it to. Safety block. This cylinder right here doesn't need a safety block because it's actually not a cylinder. What that does is levels the forks. So as the boom is going up, that's pushing down, which is pushing down the forks. So that as you're going up, the forks are going down so that they always stay level. So that's a slave cylinder is what it is. So if that actually blew a line, the safety block on the forks would stop it from moving, and you just wouldn't have a self-leveling function at that time. So anyways, that's enough rambling for now, guys. I want to move on to other things. It's getting nice out, so I'd like to do some different types of projects instead of being cooped up in the garage all day. So we'll see what we get into next, but that's it for this video, and I will see you on the next one.